Hey guys, hope everybody's doing well and having a good week. I am still out of town, but today's action in the market was pretty pivotal for me anyway, for some of the trades that we were talking about and some of the positions that I currently held. So I wanted to take a minute to go over some of the action today and the positions that we have been watching and or holding since last week. So um, we'll start with the S&P market, like overall. You can see here today it did kind of have a strong down day in the beginning and made a pretty good recovery towards the latter part of the day. But if you take a look, I think the weakest market today was the NASDAQ. So you can see on the daily chart of the NASDAQ, we have kind of breached into this gap here. We didn't close in it, but we uh, almost hit this gap fill right here. This is the Qs, so this is the ETF on the NASDAQ. If you take a look at the futures, the NASDAQ futures, okay, you can see also it's had a pretty significant 1.43% down today. It's still above this 20 moving average, so we'll see how it reacts at the 20. You see it did kind of get above this trend line, which is a little bit longer term here. It's the beginning of the year, March 14th till now, and it did peak above there for a few days and consolidate, but then today's action brought it back down below that average trend line rather, and into near the moving average, the 20 moving average on the daily. It is weak. We've had a lot of NASDAQ stocks go red. You can see, just let's go down the list. We've got Apple showing a nice recovery, but still kind of weak for the day. If you check out Google, really weak. It actually, Google, this is a missed opportunity here on my part because I had this trend line here marked to where if it went down below this trend line, I should get in the position, but I was on a plane all day yesterday and wasn't able to take this trade. But you can see it went all the way down to almost this pivot here at 117, 1173.32, and actually bounced pretty hard off of that 1175 level, which is kind of, a psychological level. It's an even number. And it's back up almost at 1200. So Google's super weak. We also had Facebook showing considerable weakness today, breaking down below this trend line here, heading to fill this gap. Actually, this gap already kind of filled, so looking to fill the remainder of this gap here, and then moving back down towards that 156 pivot over there. Also, we had Netflix. These are all so weak today. Netflix, super weak. We also showed Twitter was quite weak today. Of course, Twitter and Facebook were, Sheryl Sandberg and Jack Dorsey were testifying, today in Congress, and so their stocks, some of the statements that they made actually caused their stocks to be weak this morning as well. So all in all, just saying the Nasdaq is quite weak and kind of dragged the market today in general. So some of the stocks that we had talked about were actually panning out pretty well today, and managed to take some profits on some of them, and we'll walk through that as well. So we'll start with Grubhub. Grubhub, we talked about this stock. I got in this stock on the 30th. So on the 31st. So on Friday, got in the stock just below the Thursday's low of the bottom portion of this body of the candle. So I preemptively bought a put on this right around this level on Thursday. Let me see if I can show it to you on a daily. So I actually got into this position here with a put, and we had talked about the stop being 145.09ish. So Tuesday I was on a plane at this time, and so I put an arrow here to let you know this was actually where my stop was. And that's really kind of the benefits of having a mental stop versus a hard stop, especially on a put option. You're not short the stock, you have limited risk. You can't really anticipate what the value of the option is going to be right away, like right when the stock hits your stop. So I did actually still, I still held that stock, that option rather, through yesterday. And then you can see today, with the down, the weakness in the NASDAQ, Grubhub showed some, tremendous weakness as well, and actually hit the target. The first target was this trend line here. So we are still in the position, actually, and I think that my stop is now going to be pulled down to 50% of the move from today. So, I mean, this is a 2-day swing trade. It's done really well. I could have gotten out of it today, but like I said, I'm out of town. I'm not necessarily following the market 100%. Didn't realize there was going to be a lot of weakness this morning. Otherwise, obviously I would have been paying a little bit more attention. So my stop on Grubhub is going to be right here at the 50% Fibonacci, which is around 139. I mean, it's already gone down to the first target, and the second target would be, down at the 126.50 area, or you could even look to any of these Fibonacci extensions, right? So we have the 23% and the 61% Fibonacci extensions. So those will be also potentials for like watching for a bounce. So I'm looking for it to turn back over and get back below this trend line. It did have support there, so if it doesn't do that and it continues higher, we will get out of this position at 138, which is still a really good profit on this name. I mean, getting into it around 142, getting out at 138, still pretty good. 139, it's still pretty good even if we get stopped out. So that's Grubhub, doing quite well, still holding that position. Second up is JD.com, which, I mean, wow, it really made the move quickly to where we are looking for it to go, right? It's on its way down to that 23.29 level that we talked about as our next target. Let me put it on a weekly so you can see it a little better. I mean, it might find some support here at 25.30. So we'll go ahead and put a little pivot right here just to kind of give us some heads up. But we talked about this, this being my stop. So this position I actually entered on Wednesday, I believe. Let me go ahead and do a 10-day. Yeah. Yes. So we entered this position here on this day on Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. So, and then we had a stop here at this dash line. And I think I talked about this in Thursday's video and forgot to talk about it on Friday, but I was still holding it Friday, and with this dash line as my stop. So the dash line was my stop, and I left it there to show you guys that's where my stop was. Obviously, as the stock has moved down, these pivots are going to become my stops, right? So now I'll be moving my stop for JD, especially today's action was very unexpected. The NASDAQ, huge weakness. The Chinese internet names were also quite weak. So I'm actually going to move my stop past this 29.25 pivot and all the way down to this little intraday pivot right here. So the stop for me on this stock is here. And I believe, if I am not mistaken, that's around the 50% retracement on the day's move from the high to the low. So let's see. Yeah, it's a little bit below that. So actually, it's a little bit above 50%. So I'm being a little bit more generous just because of the giant move it's had today. I could take profits, but the way it closed today, it's quite weak. The action with the huge red bar and closing almost at the low of the day, it closed at 26.30. I'm actually going to move my stop here, but my mental stop here is going to be right here at that 50% fib. So I'm going to go ahead and put an alert here at the 50% Fibonacci retracement from today's move, and then I will have a mental stop there at around 27. That's like another 70 cents. That'll lock in my profits from the other day. So I'm actually, let's see. I think I took my arrow off of this chart for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, I got in it right here at the beginning of this day on Wednesday. So right around 31.64.5. So I'm doing pretty well. $4 profit. I mean, honestly, I should take at least half off the table right now. So probably tomorrow morning I will take half off the table and then leave the other half to run with a stop around 27. So we'll see. I mean, again, some targets to the downside here, 25-30 pivot, any of these extension levels on the Fibonacci, but the true pivots for us will be 25-30, 23-29, and then down to 19-51. So it's looking pretty weak. I mean, quite weak, and it looks like it could make it down at least to the 25 level, the 25 area, if not lower. 23-29 is a viable target. So that's JD.com. So we talked about Grubhub, we talked about JD, some other names that I wanted to mention. I think we want to talk about Booking because I actually yesterday was able to get into Booking.com. Let me just move this here. Today, this at the close yesterday, actually. So yesterday at the close, when I got to my hotel, I mean, I was looking at this stock. We talked about Booking being on our watch list, right, for a cross down below. We wanted it to be show some weakness off of this longer term trend line. So let's pull up the weekly so we can recap. So Booking had earnings, it went down, and it was starting to retrace. It bounced pretty hard. And what we were looking for was continued weakness and really not moving above this 195674 level. What we said is if it does, although I anticipated that it would be weak rather than strong, if it did move above 195674 again, we would look for a gap fill of this gap here. But if it turned around and showed weakness, we would look to get short the name. Specifically below this consolidation area, but definitely below this second trend line here. So at the end of the day, on Tuesday, yesterday, I bought a put on Booking.com, and this arrow is actually supposed to be referring to the end of the day. But I know why I put the arrow there. Yep. So I got in it on the end of the day yesterday. But what this arrow is indicating where another entry point could have been. So you could have entered this trade also below this first red bar. So when we're trading to the short side, I mean, you see here this pivot. I mean, it got below this bar here, which was, kind of where the consolidation was going on. You have this flag pattern of consolidation. And it got below, I'm having trouble with charts again. It got below there yesterday. So you see this this line here. I'm going to go ahead and just draw it in so you can see it. So below that line of 1925 was where I entered the position. But if you wanted to wait till the following day for confirmation, right at the open, it started going below that level. So you could have gotten in immediately at the open as well, like right when it crossed below the low of the prior day, which was 1921.40. So entering at 1921.40 and then selling more or getting more short as it crossed down below this second trend line would have been a good option for this particular for the short that we talked about. And so my arrows are all over the place. When you put the arrow tool up, it just anytime you click anywhere, it puts an arrow. So I'm in Booking to the short side. My stop because of this move is going to end up being probably this trend line here. So I want to say 50% of this move. I like the 50% retracement simply because it gives it a chance, especially on a big down move, it gives it a chance to recover a little bit and then turn back over. Like when you have a big down move, you want to give it a little chance to, consolidate. Although this is a very good down move, it's like a bear flag right here. Down move and then consolidation all day today. And it started going down again towards the end of the day. So I'd say I'm going to go ahead and put an alert here above these spikes right here, right above the trend line. So I'll go ahead and put my alert right here, and we'll watch how it acts if it crosses above there. And then my hard stop, of course, hard mental stop, not real hard stop, will be at the 50% retracement, which will give me a $12 profit almost. So Booking.com still looking good to the short side. And again, you all know what my theory is on Booking. I think that it will end up going down to this purple line eventually. If not, at least to 1630 pivot. It's my longer term outlook on Booking. So I'm looking to swing this particular trade at least until here's some targets for us on Booking. So let's go to the daily. These pivots are here. This 1870 level is the next pivot. Then we have 1836, 1826. And if you want to take this new double bottom here, 1815.50 is another pivot. So, and in fact, I'm going to remove this one because this is an older one. And with the move that it made here, we'll leave this as more clean. So first target is 1870. And then, we have this 1836 area and then 1815. But I will also keep an eye on it at these extension levels, right? So here's the 50% move today, and then we have these dashed lines here, the Fibonacci extensions. So, off of this move, basically, how much off this move further to the downside. And these are just good levels, just because they're mathematical. People tend to follow them. That's why I use them as well. So we'll keep an eye on Booking. It's also working for us right now with the weakness in the market. So we'll continue to take a look there and go forward. Some other names, I think we had EA Sports. That was the other name that we had talked about that we were in. Yep, so we had EA Sports. The stop was this red dashed line. We got into EA Sports on Friday down here at the 114.01 area, and we added the stop. Our stop was 115.51, if you recall. So that stop never got hit. You can see the price action never went back up to 115.50. So we're still in the name to the short side with a put. And I believe I also have a call spread on it. Yes, as well. I sold a call spread on it as well. So we have some additional downside today. You can see the action on it. We had this big red candle, got in here, and there was a little bit of a hammer pattern here, not really, but a little consolidation, doji, hammer, whatever. And then further downward price action today with the weakness in the market. So EA, we're still in, and I'm moving my stop. Let me go ahead and delete this arrow. And then we will move our stop down to the high of today. So I'm just going to keep, moving it down and giving it time to work. And actually, now that I'm looking at this, because of the move today, I'm gonna place my alert a little bit lower, and I will make my stop actually just here, which is the low of this bar, which is the day I bought it. So the low, the 113.11 area, which is the low of the bar here. So that gives me like $1 profit locked in if that's my stop. And then it has gone down quite a bit. So I'll put an alert here to see how it acts if it gets above this little rounded bottom area here. So if it's got volume, if it has strong volume to the upside tomorrow above this 112.06 area, I'll just look to maybe even just sell, part of my position or one of the two things that I have on it, and then maintain the other one, one of the two positions I have, and then maintain the other position for a further downside move. Targets on EA, 110.43, and then down at the 105 level. So you could just look at that as 110 and 105. I mean, those are round numbers. It will probably get to those levels if it goes near there. So those are my two targets for the next move in EA if it continues to the downside. And if not, we have our stop. So trades are working okay. I'll just look at some of the names that we had been talking about previously. I haven't traded them, but I wanted to take a look with you. You see Zillow yesterday also kind of had a bounce down off of this trend line that we were talking about. What I said is I wouldn't even look to trade it unless it got below 46.90. You see today it like almost tapped 46.90. I believe the low today. Let's see what exactly it was. It was 46.91. So you can see that this little area right here that we talked about, this bar, which is the low of this consolidation, is still holding up as an area of support. So until it crosses below 46.90, we're not going to look at it for the short side. But Zillow's looking weak. I mean, still, it's got weakness, a little double top, lower high here also off of the, got this high here and this high here. So it's a lower high as well, and it hasn't gotten back above this trend line. So we're still looking at Zillow, and then, pardon me. And then I believe that's pretty much all I had to review with you today. I just wanted to give you a quick update on the positions that we're working, and to just let you know that there is some weakness that you can take advantage of. I actually do have some ideas. I wanted to talk about Facebook. Actually, it's moved a little bit. Yeah, it's moved a little bit further than I would like. But this morning, if you took a look at Facebook, you see the choppy action in it, right up to this trend line. And what a good trade that would have been to take a short right here off of this spike high onto this trend line, this upward, ascending trend line that we were looking at for potential area of support on Facebook. So any kind of strength in Facebook, I would think if it doesn't get up to this trend line, could be faded. I mean, yeah, it had a pretty big move today, 2.3%. But you could sell calls or call spreads above here, above this 174, 175 area, or even above like 172.50. Could be a good area to sell call spreads if you don't want to get into the being short outright the stock. But 166.61 is the next pivot on this stock. You can't see it because I have an alert here, but there it is. If it crosses below that level, that is another potential entry, and it's mighty close to there right now. So we're going to watch Facebook for a trade tomorrow below 166.61 for a target with a target of 156.64. So that's Facebook. Also, I want to say, I think Twitter moved a little bit too far today too. Yeah, but it's still, so Twitter's still hugging this line here. So if Twitter gets below this trend line, I know it's been really weak today. It's 6% down move. It's pretty weak. It's probably going to bounce, maybe have a little bit of support here. But we'll keep an eye on it if it has weakness below this trend line here. And then, of course, this pivot is the next tell for a trade to the downside. I mean, you can see we traded it to the upside. I mean, I didn't trade it, but I recommended a trade to the upside above these two double tops here at 33.61. It did make a pretty good move up there. You got a couple dollars in profit if you were to take that trade, or $1.50 at least. And today's got some, pretty decent weakness back down. We talked about this giant move after earnings to the downside and potential bear flag formation. We did talk about this H pattern for a small bounce. It has shown weakness based on news and otherwise. So we need to really keep an eye on this for a potential continuation move to the downside. Seems like a pretty weak stock right now. Looking at the weekly, could potentially be forming a head and shoulders pattern with, maybe like an angled neckline right here. So I would keep an eye on this. We have some pivots you can look at, once it does, or if it does cross below this 31.86 level. You have 31.07. It's actually 31.07, not 31.05. And then, of course, down here at this pivot here at around 26.62. So you have some targets to the downside. And then if it did complete that, right? So if it completed this head and shoulders pattern, any break below 26.62 obviously would be quite weak as well. But we're looking for at least an initial break. Excuse me, I'm having some allergies. An initial break of this trend line and with targets identified here. So Facebook and Twitter are both on my watch list. And then the other stocks that we talked about, Booking, Grubhub, EA Sports, and JD.com, you just want to be very well aware of where they're going, and if you have trades on them, look to cover at appropriate positions. So I'll try to give you an update if tomorrow turns out to be a pretty impactful day, and we'll go from there. Have a great day and happy trading.